Well, welcome everyone to week 2 of our 4-week mini-series of deck tech videos covering the Monarch Blitz decks recently released for Flesh and Blood. As always, we are going to look at what makes each hero tick right out of the box and talk to you about some potential upgrades that you might want to consider for them at the end of the video. Remember that these videos should not be seen as a series used to hone skills needed to win a high-level competitive event. Rather, this is for new players picking up the game for the first time to get some additional insight on how their chosen hero functions and potentially upgrades that they may want to invest in as they go along in their Flesh and Blood journey. Today we're going to look at Levia, a Shadow Brute hero. Being the other Shadow hero in Monarch, Levia also brings Blood Debt, Shadow Talent cards, and a Mentor card. We'll touch on what this means briefly, but if you'd like a more in-depth explanation of what these mechanics bring and to see how Chain works, click the link below to watch last week's video that goes over all of that and more. Levia being a hero with the Shadow talent means that she can play Brute, Shadow, Shadow Brute, and generic cards in her deck. The Shadow cards themselves introduce Blood Debt, which will deal 1 damage to you for each Blood Debt card that you have in your banish zone at the end of your turn. Unlike Chain, Levia's Blood Debt cards included in the pre-constructed deck cannot be played from the banish zone, but her ability allows you to dodge the damage from Blood Debt if you have banished a card with 6 or more attack power that turn. This doesn't seem like something you would want to have to deal with, but the trade-off is that you gain access to big attacks for low resource costs. With great power comes great responsibility, as it were. Additionally, you'll have plenty of ways to play cards and set up combos that will guarantee that you can turn off Blood Debt that we will dive into more later. For now, just know that Levia will be hitting with very tall attacks, and that comes with the price of needing to manage your plays with Blood Debt in mind. Finally, like Chain and the rest of the pre-constructed Blitz decks, Levia's deck includes a Mentor card, Lady Barthamont. She reads that at the start of your turn, if Barthamont is face down in your arsenal, you may turn her face up. Whenever you play an attack action card, banish the top card of your deck. If the banished card has a 6 or more attack power, the attack gains Dominate, and then you put a lesson counter on her. Then, if there are 2 or more lesson counters on her, banish her. Search your deck for a specialization card, put it face up into your arsenal, and then shuffle your deck. That's quite a mouthful, but to sum it all up for you, Barthamont will assist in making sure that you're banishing 6 power attacks, so you can not only turn off Blood Debt, but give your bigger attacks Dominate, making your opponent vulnerable, as Dominate allows your opponent to only block with 1 card from their hand. The Levia pre-constructed Blitz deck puts all this together with a fully constructed 40-card Blitz deck, a hero token, weapon token, and a full set of equipment to use right out of the box at your LGS and your kitchen table. To get started, Levia wants to hit your opponent every turn for big damage and banish cards. It's really that simple. Doing this will put pressure on your opponent early and make sure that you are not taking any damage from Blood Debt. You accomplish this by playing one of the many attack action cards available in the deck that have an additional cost of banishing cards from your graveyard in order to play. This includes Boneyard Marauder, Dread Screamer, Hungering Slaughter Beast, and Endless Maul. Playing these cards will all require you to banish 3 random cards from your graveyard. Making sure that you balance blocking and attacking with enough 6 attack power cards to be able to play these large attacks will be the key to succeeding with Levia. Out of the box, similar to Chain, this deck runs 0 defense reactions. Additionally, 10 cards out of the 40-card deck do not have defense values. On the surface, this seems like it might be really difficult, but it just means that you'll have to make very smart defensive plays, blocking with enough 6 power attack cards to fill your graveyard with to both play your powerful attacks and turn off Blood Debt for your turn. Another important thing to take into consideration when playing this deck is that 22 cards out of the 40 require you to banish cards from your graveyard to play them. With more than half of your deck requiring you to banish cards from your graveyard, you're going to want to make sure that you're swinging every turn and blocking accordingly to fill your graveyard up and be able to consistently play your big attacks. Touching on some of the key cards in the deck, we have Soul Harvest, which is a one-off rare in the deck that is also Levia's specialization card. Soul Harvest is a 6 attack action card for 6 resources that requires you to banish 6 cards from your graveyard, giving Soul Harvest +1 attack power for each card with Blood Debt that you banish this way. The 6 resource cost is high, but if played with a full graveyard, you can swing in with this single attack for a whopping 12 damage. Underworldly Bellow, red and blue, is another solid staple that requires you to banish 3 random cards from your graveyard and then gives your next Brute or Shadow attack action card additional attack power depending on the pitch value of the Underworldly Bellow that you use. This is really good for cards like Smash with Big Tree, smash, 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 that do not require you to banish cards from your graveyard on turns you need to turn off Blood Debt. Dread Screamer is another great example that also requires you to banish 3 random cards from your graveyard and gains Go Again if you have banished a card with 6 or more attack power this turn. Playing an attack like Deadwood Rumbler for 8 damage is great, but being able to hit with Dread Screamer for 6, followed up by Deadwood Rumbler for 8 is even better. We've talked about cards and some synergies, but here's an example utilizing everything we've talked about so far for a really big offensive play. Setting the scene, you took the damage from whatever your opponent threw at you last turn and have 2 blue pitch cards, 1 red pitch card, and Gravel and Growl in your hands. Soul Harvest is face up in your arsenal. There are at least 6 cards in your graveyard with at least 6 of them having Blood Debt and 1 having 6 or greater attack power. At the beginning of your turn, you destroy Goliath Gauntlet to give the next attack action card with cost 2 or greater you play this turn +2 attack power. Then you pitch 6 resources to play Soul Harvest, banishing 6 cards from your graveyard with Blood Debt to give it the full +6 attack power boost. In response to banishing a card with 6 attack power or greater, you'll destroy Hooves of the Shadow Beast to gain 1 action point. With the additional action point, you'll pitch your red pitch card to play Gravel and Growl. This combo is short and sweet, hitting for a massive 21 damage with just 2 attacks. It's a little bit more difficult to set this combo up given the number of cards needed in the graveyard and resources in hand to pull off. To showcase how lethal Levia can be with a minimal setup, here's another combo example. Setting this scene, you blocked with 1 card on your opponent's turn and have 2 blue pitch cards and a Dread Screamer red in your hand. Hungering Slaughterbeast red is in your arsenal, and you have at least 6 cards in your graveyard, with at least a couple of them having a 6 or greater attack power. At the beginning of your turn, you'll destroy that Goliath Gauntlet to give your next attack action card with cost 2 or greater that you play this turn +2 attack power. Then you'll pitch 3 resources to play Dread Screamer and banish 3 random cards from your graveyard. With 1 resource floating, a card with 6 attack power or greater has been banished. With Go Again from Dread Screamer, you'll pitch the other blue in your hand to play Hungering Slaughterbeast from Arsenal and banish 3 random cards from your graveyard. This allows you to have 2 resources floating. In response to banishing a card with 6 attack power or greater, you'll destroy Hooves of the Shadow Beast to gain 1 action point. With the additional action point, you'll use the remaining 2 floating resources to hit with Ravenous Meat Axe. Unblocked and assuming all effects trigger as needed, this 3 attack combo hits for 20 damage with 1 less card in hand than the previous combo. Levia's 6 attack power matter strategy right out of the box is straightforward and definitely a hero deck that I would recommend to players with less TCG experience. That is not to say that there's no depth to the character, but that as a pre-constructed experience, you will find it a lot easier to play and figure out the combos than most other heroes available in Monarch. This is still a lot of information for a new player to take in, and if Levia interests you and you're new to the game, I'd recommend just sitting down and playing some games with this information under your belt to figure out some of those wild combos and synergies for yourself. For those of you who are still sticking around and are hungry for more Shadow Brew, here are a few recommendations for upgrades I have for those looking to construct their own Blitz or classic constructed deck for Levia. Gravel and Growl Yellow is a great card. 2 of the red pitch values are already included in the Blitz deck, but the yellow is still a 6 power attack for 1 resource. Keep in mind, this is a card that will require you to play something like Unworldly Bellow prior to playing it, so that you can meet its additional cost of having to have banished a card with 6 or more attack power to play Gravel and Growl. Hungering Slaughterbeast, red and yellow are also cards to add more of to this deck. Only one red Hungering Slaughterbeast is included in the pre-constructed deck, but this is an excellent source of dealing damage and maintaining your banish quota to dodge that blood debt. One of the coolest Majestics in the set is Tear Limb from Limb. If set up with a handful of 6+ attack power cards, this card can be a lethal 2-card combo with just about any of Levia's attack cards. Deadwood Rumbler is especially devastating with a base 8 attack power, meaning that when paired with Tear Limb from Limb, it would be attacking for 16 damage. Another great Majestic is actually a weapon card. Hexagore, the Death Hydra, by swinging 6 damage for 2 resources, is on par with most Shadowbird attacks, but doing so with a weapon means that you're saving a card in hand, which can be great for not running out of cards in classic constructed games that will go longer than Blitz. Tome of Torment can be really important because drawing cards for free is an excellent way for Levia to get the resources necessary for a devastatingly large attack when you need to regain tempo. Now Levia does a lot of attacking, but sometimes blocking is necessary as well. Guardian the Shadow Realm is an excellent defense reaction to consider given the flexibility that you have to bring it back from the banish zone. Levia can even recycle it by playing it, banishing it from the graveyard as part of an attack cost, and recurring it back to hand again. Levia's deck may be more straightforward and have shorter combos than the other Shadow Hero chain, but you will be playing a different strategy altogether. Your cards in hand may tend to feel more linear, but how you manage turning Blood Debt off, filling your graveyard with big attacks, and banishing cards with 6 or greater attack power will leave for some exciting playlines and strategies to explore. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're looking for a place to play and enjoy some amazing conversation with members of the Flesh and Blood community, head on over to patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG to support the channel and content like this, as well as getting access to that Discord server and the collection tracker, as well as discounts on box and case breaks. For the rest of you, thank you so much for even viewing the channel. You're really making my dream come true. And a special shout out to Zach McCullough for helping me make this video. All this gameplay can be a lot of fun, but remember to be kind to the people around you.